drove up to the canyon, shut my phone off, had my gun on my lap, was about ready to pull the trigger. And then this guy pulled up next to me and a dog got out of his car and it brushed the side of my car and it just like, boom, I like snapped out of it. And that was my wake up call.
Hello, beloveds. Welcome back to another episode of Thrive Hive Show. I am your lucky host, Azaya, and this is Revan.
What's up, guys?
Today, we have someone who is willing to bring her big, beautiful heart to our conversation. We're barefoot. We're ready to go. We're going to just bear all from a place of the truth of the pain that sometimes launches our message, the mess into the message. And I'm really excited to hear where you have come from because of the alchemy that I can feel and that I know you have turned that into in your life. And then you have been able to use those points as gifting to help others become who they are as well. So that being said, our new friend, Felicia Marie, who is a hypnotherapist, among many other things, here to talk with us about just that whole world of healing and growing and thriving and the cyclical effect, as we were talking about upcycling. And just welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
It's so much fun just meeting you both and sitting here already. I'm like, I can see why people would want to spend time with you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Received. Well received.
Yeah.
Well, we started off sharing about some of our plant medicine experiences. And just, wanting to really pull back the curtain and share the truth of the healing and the growing and the thriving, and then the rug being pulled out from under us and then starting again in a different aspect of our lives. And I feel like anytime that people are willing to share from that place of authenticity and vulnerability, and that we're willing to go back and touch the wound again in service to other people, like, you're our people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a beautiful way to say that too.
Yeah. We recognize each other in that, because it's not, we don't do this for our own glory. Anybody who shares their story also, that when we share, I always say, like, when I'm speaking about my recovery process, for example, if I get off of a stage and I've shared my entire history of how I blew my life up in so many ways, and I've self-harmed and I've harmed him and I've harmed so many people around me, like, I get off or finish the conversation, whether it's a small group, on stage, on air, it doesn't matter. It feels to me like taking the rib cage and opening it wide open. And I feel like a gazelle sometimes laying out in the savannah. And I know that there's lions that are smelling it and they're
just
catching the whiff.
ready to get it.
Right? But I don't
You're
care.
exposing yourself.
Exactly.
Knowing that someone could come and attack that.
Yeah.
That's true vulnerability in
And
my
they're
opinion.
likely to.
And
they're likely to.
They could, but they
Yeah.
don't. And even if they did, I wouldn't care, because the pain to me of not sharing who I have become and the healing and the growth that I have had, the opportunity, the gifting to experience in this lifetime, the pain of not sharing that to help someone else is way worse than the pain of any attack could be.
100%. I agree with that.
And that's just where I'm sitting.
Yes.
So it's like, we're not doing it for us. We're doing this to share because it feels like this mission. So anyway.
And we meet cool people.
And we meet cool people.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I seriously love this so much.
Like recognizes like.
Yes. You can just sense it when someone's on the same wavelength, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
So welcome. And he'll protect us from the lions.
Yes,
by the way.
I love that.
Yeah. So you feel, free
that
to
masculinity,
to bear
right?
all. Yeah. The divine masculinity.
Yep.
It's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we're lucky.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start from the beginning?
Yeah, I guess.
What does that feel like for you?
Once upon a time.
You're like, I don't.
Let's go back to Egyptian times.
Yeah,
This is where it all
exactly.
began.
Yes.
Your earliest memory. How many lifetimes
My earliest
ago?
memory, Egyptian times.
Nice.
I have traveled back that far.
Wow. Nice.
So the beginning of this life and leading to where I am now is I was raised very, very poor, right? Like poverty level, I would say. Mom and dad divorced when I was young. It's pretty common. Nothing that I went through as a child, I feel like, is very uncommon nowadays. It's very exposed. But I was raised in an environment that did not support emotional growth, emotional intelligence, didn't support feeling loved or seen or heard. And I already have emotions going. So I just, I just need a second. I just don't want to push that down.
Yeah, we let it through here.
I've already been prepped for this podcast like days. Like I've been feeling
Okay.
the work, the preparation of the story and the journey that I'm going to share.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the space. I had a really hard life, right? Very, very challenging. And there were a lot of gifts in it, right? There's a lot of beautiful things I can take from it. And part of my healing journey is exposing it for what it is and validating what that was versus, but my mom did her best and my dad did his best. And, you know, they're just humans and they're doing what they know how to do. And I spent a lot of time doing that on my healing path, just not having my own experience of it. So I was raised around a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs. I was raised around, I was a middle child. So I don't know if anybody like is a middle child. The middle child is typically gets the least amount of attention, but it's mainly because, not because they're not like good or bad. It's just because the older one is just a shithead, right? The older one's doing things and then the younger one is younger. And so the middle one just typically doesn't get handled the same. And that's what I dealt with a lot of my life. Like I was just kind of off doing my own thing a lot of the time and just didn't get a lot of the attention that I needed.
Yeah, they call that the invisible child.
The invisible child.
Right?
So I was the invisible child, right?
Yeah.
And I'm now sitting in my family, the one that has doing the work for the family. I am the one in my family line doing the work. And so I'm like the outcast. I'm very different. I'm set apart from everybody. Even my kids are like, is that your family? Are you sure? Like, were you adopted? Because there's no way.
That's kind of,
And no offense to my family. I love my family, but
Yeah.
I just, when you meet them and me, you're like, are you sure?
something doesn't
You came
connect.
from
This
that?
does
Yeah.
not actually match.
Yeah.
And so that's how I felt my whole life too. So to kind of speed up that timeline, I went through a lot of sexual abuse as a child. I started drinking, doing drugs when I was 12. I overdosed 3 times as a teenager. I lived in the system. I didn't graduate high school. I had my first child at 17. I bounced around from home to home, foster care, wilderness program, state's custody. Like I just was a system child. And that created a lot of abandonment, right? From both parents. It wasn't just one, it was both. And then I kind of feel like I got a second chance in a way. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that in your journey where you're like, oh, I have another opportunity to do something different.
Sure.
And I had a lot of those moments in my life, but my aunt and uncle ended up adopting me, and that gave me an opportunity to get my life together. And I spent the next decade becoming a mom at a really young age. I was in a near-death experience, head-on collision by a drunk driver when I was pregnant with my second child. I was in a very toxic, abusive marriage for 10 years. I had to fight for my life to end that marriage. And so this all leads into my late 20s, into my 30s. And then I had, I almost lost my daughter to suicide. She attempted 13 times in 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah, I've really been through it. I've had multiple near-death experiences. So the whole timeline that I've experienced in life, this is how I sum it up to people that I work with, is I lived 100 lives in my first 35 years of life. Because I've experienced like the full range of the human experience on a lot of levels, like addiction, my own suicide ideation and attempts, watching my child go through that, watching my mom in an abusive marriage and then me being in an abusive marriage, right? Watching my dad abandon people and then me abandoning myself. Like it was just, I had this life that I lived and then I just lived it because that's all I knew. And that's what I did until probably the last 7 years consciously. I've been working on unraveling that in my psyche and getting out of CPTSD naturally and holistically. I don't work with doctors, no offense to doctors, but I'm a very holistic person. I love Ayurvedic medicine and wisdom, energy work and stuff like that. And so I've been in liver failure, autoimmune disease. I've battled that. I battled cancer 7 years ago. I've been through a lot.
Girl.
Yeah, that's my timeline.
Whew.
Yeah. And that's not even the worst. That's not even the worst And this isn't like, just to clarify to the audience, this isn't like a trauma dump. This is what I've experienced in life. I always like to separate that in people's perceptions. Like, this is my real life experience.
Yeah.
Into my 30s. And I'm 39 this year.
Into your 30s.
Into my 30s.
Early 30s.
Yep.
Wow. No, I don't feel a victim energy from you at all.
Yeah.
So
thank
it's
you.
nice
You feel
to
too
clarify.
grounded in it.
Yeah, thank
Like
you. Oh, I'm very grounded in it. Yeah.
No, okay. So two things are coming up for me, and neither is a question. So what's up? But first, I am feeling the call to be sort of flippant and say with you, because I feel like there's heart trust already, even in these few minutes. Yeah. Congratulations on choosing a bang up first 30 fucking years.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, wow. Clearly I'm here to do something pretty fucking special.
Yeah.
Yes. Well done.
And that is my genuine perspective. Like, that genuinely is how I feel. Like, wow, what a gift that I've lived 100 lives in my first 40 years.
Yeah. And that's not from a place of like bypassing. That's not the painting over the pain. That's from a place of the understanding that we consciously chose to enter this lifetime to live a certain set of experiences so that our soul could feel all of them. And it's not about having to learn. It's not having to graduate. It's not about having to do anything except for just being and doing. And so congratulations. You were a baller, even in the non-physical, to like choose to come in and ask for all of that.
Yeah. I seriously, before I came here, I was like, check. Yeah, let's add that. Okay, we need this. Like,
oh my God.
I talk about it all the time. I'm like, okay, are we good? Are we good? Higher self? Is there more? Like, I feel like I've touched it all.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, you
don't hold your breath.
I did take the buffet life.
Okay, so that brings me into the second one. You're saying don't hold your breath, and I'm feeling something totally different.
Right.
I'm feeling that you mentioned that you've experienced the full spectrum of feelings, of experiences. And if you're open to it, I would lovingly challenge you on that.
Yeah.
I would lovingly offer that what I'm seeing for you is that you've experienced the lower half of the spectrum
100%.
of human experiences. Like you've hit every single little millimeter of experience on the bottom half of this human potential.
I agree.
And girl, now it is time.
I know. I'm so excited for
I just got the chills. Now it is time. And all of that was simply preparation for you to finally step into your becoming, which you did 7 years ago, you said. And the other remaining 50% of this human experience is now being available to you. Has now being made and is currently available to you as we speak.
Yeah.
And it will become more and more and more visible as the weight comes off of you, these layers peel, all of the yuck, the fog lifts from that lower 50% of experience. And you can see what's ahead of you and you can start choosing from a totally different buffet.
100%.
And be like, girl, I want me some of that and some of that, that pleasure and that deliciousness and that love and that body and that experience and that yumminess in all the ways. Like you never have to eat from that other buffet ever again.
I agree.
So I declare that and I activate that for
I
you
receive that 100%.
Yeah.
I received
so
that.
Those are just my two thoughts
Thank you.
to start this off.
I love that.
That's just where we're starting.
Thank you for sharing that. And I really do receive that. And that is how I feel in my soul. Like my soul is like, okay, you're now shifting. And I am, and I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it and I'm experiencing it on the highest level.
Yeah. You no longer need to be in the heavy.
No.
Like you've done that work. No. And at some point then we make a conscious effort to say enough is enough. I'm done with the suffering. Now I move into the activation of pleasure and joy and aliveness. And you're stepping into that becomes living proof for people who also need to experience it themselves.
Exactly.
And so you're just ahead of the others, and they're watching you to see how much aliveness and pleasure and lightness and joy and fun you can create.
Yeah.
So it's going to be cool.
And a lot of them are surprised.
They're
like, how?
Of course.
I got to ask this too, because I'm doing this with everybody now, do you know your human design?
I do.
You do? What are you?
I'm a manifestor, a 2/4.
A 2/4.
I am a 2/4.
Okay, so
and in my cosmic design, I'm a generating manifester.
Okay, manifesting generator.
Yep.
Yeah. 2/4.
A 2/4.
What does that say to you? What does that mean to you?
She's like very much about community, and the 4 No, it's the 6th. So like,
It's philanthropy.
yeah. Yeah. So
And the dance. Yeah.
There's a whole, do you know what your incarnation cross is by chance? No.
Yeah. I just can't remember
Okay,
it.
it's all
yeah.
good.
It's
It's
up,
all good.
it's
super
up
nerdy
there.
going super deep
I
into
did the
this.
whole
right now.
gene keys thing
Oh, you
too.
did?
I'm
Amazing.
obsessed with gene keys.
Yeah, yeah.
I've really studied gene keys.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's
And
going,
it aligns. I have an entire book that a girlfriend of mine made for me that she puts in your human design and your gene keys into
Yeah.
one roadmap.
Yeah.
And I look over it all the time. She made it 4 years ago. And
Amazing.
stuff that she talked about, I have experienced. And she talked about it in the book before it
Yeah.
even happened.
Yeah, no doubt.
amazing.
Yeah,
No
it's
doubt.
been the most beautiful thing. So I love those.
Finding
frames.
out our own operating systems
Yes.
so that we can be in less resistance
Yes.
to who we're actually meant to be, like how we operate, whether we try to or not, has been huge. And now he's incorporating it with wealth. He created this human wealth design.
Yes, it's-
working
it's
with
real.
a human design person.
It's
Yeah,
so
like
real.
I know my gateway to my highest levels of prosperity is through philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
It's through giving back. And the more that I support my community and working with my clients, the wealthier I become. And I've watched it in real time over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I know that, that's how I lead with money. That's the energy and the relationship that I have with it.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I just immediately saw you having a tribe.
Yes.
Like there
Yeah,
was
I mean, that's
100%.
your 4th line there is
Yes.
it's all about community and
It's
tribe.
all about,
Like,
I
yeah,
literally cannot exist without it. Like it
I
is
totally-
everything to
I'm
me.
a 4-6.
Yes,
so
yeah.
like we have the 4.
We have the
right?
4,
Like,
the shared 4.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
tribe for you is the one that loves that twinkle in your eye.
Yeah.
The tribe for you, if I can call it out, is
Yeah.
one that's like so here for the healing and
Yes.
the other side.
Yeah.
Eating from the buffet of yummy
Yes.
rather than the buffet of pain.
I feel that.
And you get to lead that
Yeah.
because there's not always people like to stay in the mud sometimes.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
So-
I just did a
So-
post on that for sure.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. So
Yeah.
let me ask you. So you've been doing this work effectively, you said intentionally for 7 years.
About
What-
8 years now.
almost
Yep.
8 years. Well, we're all getting
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
So what was there a moment, was there an acute moment
Mm.
where you were like, something needs to change? Like, I've got to do this work. Was there like a rock bottom, so to speak, or was it just kind of a chronic build
I
up?
love that question. I'm like, I've lived so many rock bottoms
Yeah,
and I'm
I
like,
know.
which rock bottom should I choose?
Yeah, but in that moment, right? Because that's when you
Yes.
decided there must have been a moment
There was.
or whatever.
There was. It was my last suicidal moment. I was dating someone that was in recovery in Arizona. We met in Arizona, an amazing man. I worked at a gymnastics center. He was one of the coaches there. He was just such an amazing person, bright light. Everybody loved him. He was so cute with my kids. And I fell in love with this man. And then I found out 6 months later that he was there for recovery. He was a heroin addict. And he passed a couple years ago. He overdosed a couple years ago, but we ended up having a child together. So we have an 8-year-old together. And we just knew, like, our souls knew each other. We knew we were supposed to be in each other's life. He brought me back to God and I say God meaning whatever that means for me,
Source,
right?
whatever,
Source,
yeah.
consciousness. He brought me back to that. He brought me back to a lot of amazing places in my life, but also took me to some places that weren't healthy, very toxic, a lot of abuse. And so I made some choices that caused a lot of chaos that he brought into my world, and my kids were involved in it. And he ended up breaking into my house at like 1 o'clock in the morning, keying my brand new car, traumatizing my family. I lost all sense of safety in my home. Felt like the worst mom on the planet. I love kids.
Yeah.
Like, I've wanted kids since I was little. I've always wanted a lot of kids. I've always been a protector of kids because I wasn't protected growing up, right? So when I made that decision and caused that for my family, I felt worthless, like I shouldn't be on the planet, that they would be better off without me, right? That's what the majority of people feel genuinely when they're in the mental health crisis, is like everyone would be better off without me. And I drove up to the canyon, shut my phone off, had my gun on my lap, was about ready to pull the trigger. And then this guy pulled up next to me, and a dog got out of his car and it brushed the side of my car, and it just like, boom, I like snapped out of it and looked down, and the gun was there. And I just was like, what is going on? Like, I wasn't even there is what it felt like. And that was my wake up call. And that was the moment that I decided I moved back to Utah to be with my family, found out I was pregnant, and the rest is history from there. But that was a big shift in my mental health. and just recognizing where I was mentally. It was like I was on the path of leaving my kids behind. And
Well,
I just, that was a big awakening.
And
that
your
I
baby that you didn't even know.
Yeah.
you
So
had.
I got pregnant after this.
Oh, after
Yeah.
that.
I
After
stayed
that.
with
Okay.
him and got pregnant after this. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Wow. And so when you first started down this path, then, I mean, it sounds like that moment, and then you stayed with him. So you were still going through an
The lack of
awakening, a healing, a lack of
self-worth,
self-worth, all this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
What were like the first steps that you took like, when you just decided to
It's
take these steps?
it's so like cool looking back.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a really beautiful mindset. I look back on my journey and I'm like, I've always been a very optimistic, positive person for everybody. Like even when I've been going through the hardest, deepest things in my life, I am the pillar for everybody around me. Doesn't matter what I'm going through. And most people wouldn't even know that I was going through something because I was so grounded in myself regardless. And so I learned that about myself as I started stepping into being a healer and helping other people. So I don't think it was really one thing that created that. It was a combination of like my soul's purpose, different things that activated my soul on my journey, supplements, learning about mindfulness. And I truly believe in a high level of manifestation, like to an extreme in some people's opinions. And I believe that I manifested everything on my journey to create this version of who I am. So every like dark moment, every bad decision, everything that I did that I didn't agree with, all the wrong turns were actually completely orchestrated and designed by me and God in union together. And so I designed it to be this way. I designed to go to that low so I could figure out how to help others with mental health.
Yeah.
I've put myself in situations so that I can experience it, so that I can be the medicine for other people on the path. And that's my whole entire journey. Like that is my life's purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's a culmination of things, awareness, looking, I got really curious. Why am I doing these things? Why did I give him another chance? Why am I with an addict? Oh, my mom was. Oh, my dad was this way. Oh, this was my childhood. This is what has been put into my mind. And I don't think that's something you really learn somewhere. Like I do believe that it's a consciousness thing, right? And then we transcribe it in this third dimension human reality. But it's like, it's just consciousness to me. That self-awareness, the evolution, the growth is all consciousness. And then we're like figuring that out as humans. We're kind of catching up on some level.
Sure.
And so that was my path, was just like catching up as I went through those hard things. But to other people, like, cause we're all different.
Yeah.
To other people that are in that place, get really curious. Why are you driving up the canyon? Well, my thoughts were what? I'm not good enough. I'm a bad mom. I shouldn't be here. My thoughts drove me up the canyon.
Yeah.
Right? And now I'm the master of my thoughts. Now I'm the master of my mind and the master of my energy. And I get to direct that where I want to channel it to. I don't let it run me. I'm the one driving the bus. I'm writing the script. I'm pressing play. I'm recording myself, right? I'm playing every character, and that's high level responsibility. And it's also choice.
Yeah. Intentionality behind it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to go here because I don't want to run out of time and not go into it. And thank you for sharing this. What you have so far. I mean, it's like, I think so many people struggle with it, and it's so important for people to be vulnerable like you, to like, because I've never suffered from suicidal ideations or anything. She has, and she's been public about it. But so it's just always fascinating for me to hear just people's, everybody's got a story, right?
Yeah.
And I truly believe that we all have our own story. You're living your story to create, and you chose it to get you to this place, to live the next half of your life, as she was saying. So I'm going to pivot a little bit now and just talk a little bit about, we were talking about sacred medicines and work with, different modalities.
Yes.
Good
way of saying that. He's like, suckers.
We all know what we're talking about here.
Bleep, bleep.
Yep. So, you know, I could say for us, our work, we went down to Colombia in 2021 when we were going through some stuff, and work with sacred medicine is one of the key turning points in us saving our marriage and consciously choosing intentionally that we wanted to keep on this path together, you know, and going down together, but not together, and realizing like, hey, we don't know how this is going to go is our, you know, first experience in, and you don't know what you're getting into when you're,
you really
know,
don't.
whatever, you know, and so then we go down that path. So I would love to hear if you're, whatever you're willing to share about how work with these sacred medicines ceremonially have helped you, you know, find a different part of yourself, go deeper into your subconscious, unpack traumas, unpack PTSDs, unpack like all of it. And like the work, because it's also important to not just talk about the medicine does all this stuff, because it's ceremony is great, but my belief is it unlocks a part of us.
Yes.
And it's the work we do on the back end after a new awareness.
Yes. The integration.
The integration work is the most important part. So whatever you're willing to share, I would love to hear your story.
I love this question. So I just want to preface that before I even got into working with sacred medicine, I did it a lot recreationally as a teenager.
Okay.
And I really believe it saved my life as a teenager, because I was far more suicidal in my teenage years due to sexual abuse and being raped than I was in my later on adulthood years.
Okay.
So I believe that I used, and you might relate to this, I believe that I used to cope from the abuse.
For sure.
And I overdosed as a way to commit suicide without intentionally wanting to. So like overdose by use of drugs and alcohol, essentially, right?
Yep.
And so I did a lot of that work when I was younger. I actually studied MDMA as a teenager in high school and wrote papers on it of how it can help heal PTSD in people's brains. So I've always had this like curiosity around this conversation. And so, you know, the last couple of years I went through a breakup, and I talked about this on Dad Bods and Beards podcast, this last relationship ending and how devastating it was. And then finding out that my daughter was struggling with suicidal ideation and attempts.
Yeah.
And that messed up my mental health. And that's when those sacred medicines, they came to me. So I did a lot of integrative work prior to getting into sacred medicine. And I want to preface that. I think it's actually very important.
Yeah.
And I very much support that with everyone I work with. I did 4 years of reprogramming my subconscious mind, inner child timeline therapy, and work before I even got into the sacred medicine world. And so when I got into sacred medicine, I was the most optimized person in ceremony. And I've been told that by shamans, by coaches and mentors, like the way that I handle ceremony is very different than a lot of other people, because I have the tools and I have the mindset and I've done a lot of the work. Yeah. So I want to preface that. And I'm always telling people, like, do some of that work prior. Don't just throw yourself into the fire. Like,
for sure.
It's just not necessary. And sometimes I don't feel it's helpful, and it can cause a lot of other issues for people.
Especially some of the medicines can be so ungrounding. Yes. Right? Because the come up can be so strong. And if your subconscious is not used to that, your brain starts playing wild tricks on you, and you don't know how to navigate it. And you can spend most of the time just trying to put pieces of yourself back together to realize that you're actually here. You know what I mean? Like, and so like, it's
and not doing any work.
Yeah,
really,
exactly. You're just trying to survive and get through it. You know what I mean?
So are you really experiencing the sacred medicine? No, you're experiencing resistance, survival, fight or flight.
And I would argue that there can be a gift in that too, if you give yourself the space. But unfortunately, too many people go through that and they're like, well, that was insane. Like, I'm never doing that again.
100%.
When in reality, like, you're working with it more at that point in time, and like actually doing that work is part of it, or would be even more beneficial. But I think what you're saying is, if you don't have to go through that, if there is some work you can do preemptively to be prepared, do that work.
Because I wanted when I got into sacred ceremony, I wanted to feel the spirit of the plant and work with her. and work with them, you know, the different energies of the plant. And I was so intentional about that. Like, I didn't want to experience just all of this human resistance and all of this suffering that I felt was unnecessary. I really wanted to be one with that experience. And so I worked really diligently on like preparing my vessel and preparing my mind and my heart so that I could experience it. And I did. My very first ceremony, I heard her voice and she came right to me, and I got to work with her instead of just like suffering and going. And I've heard all the worst stories ever.
Sure.
And I had such a beautiful experience, right? Yes,
well,
it
you
was
deserved
hard.
it. You went through a lot of shit the first part of your life. You deserved a beautiful experience, and you did the work too. So
and grandmother knew that.
She honored you. She honored
Yes.
totally.
In my second ceremony, we played the whole time. She was like, stop taking life so seriously, Felicia. Like, let's play. And the whole container, we were all having fun.
That's awesome.
And playing in her spirit. And it was such a different experience than my first one. The first one was like, let me crack you open. Here's all of your patterns. I got to see every single pattern in real life, in real time, and work through those patterns. And I got to feel things that I did not want to feel as a child. And I discovered things that I didn't know were there on such a high level. I mourned and grieved the marriage that I have 4 of my kids with him, my high school sweetheart. I, like, for the first time after 12 years, was able to mourn and grieve the loss of that marriage, because all it was covered up with was pain and resentment and anger and frustration and abuse, that I didn't even mourn the marriage ending. Yeah. So those sacred medicines gave me an entirely new identity with this world. And I connect with the world more than I ever have, because you learn, and you both know this, like, everything is connected. There is zero separation of anything in our reality. And and because I love community, obviously, like, that's so important to me. That just heightened that experience for me, where I was like, oh, I'm always in connection with community. Like, there's always something that I'm connected to.
Sure.
But the deepest parts of that work is getting out of the PTSD that I had in my mind, and being able to heal parts of my childhood that I felt so distorted from, and that I felt really affected me. But the biggest thing was being able to feel all of the pain that I had been burying, coping from, numbing, avoiding, distracting myself from.
There's something magical when you're in ceremony like that, when you're in that state of consciousness, how you're able to feel it and get through the depths of hell, what it feels like sometimes. And yet you come through on the other side and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I went through that.
Yes.
Right? Like, because it's like a release of that energy that you've been holding on to. And it's crazy. Like, my first 3 journeys were the hardest 3 days of my life. And like, I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah.
You know,
looking back, how wonderful is it to be like, wow, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And it was so bad. Like, by the time the 3rd journey came, like, after the 2nd journey, I was like, I'm not going back in. It's not happening.
But you do.
And then the shaman talked me into it, and I'm like, all right. And he's like, how much worse could it be? And then the 3rd one was actually worse.
Oh my gosh.
And then the 3rd, I'm like, no, not again, whatever. And then they got me to go back. And then the 4th one was the most beautiful day of my life.
Right.
And
it's so worth it.
And I swear, like,
it's worth it.
She knew I needed it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of one of those things. But I know we're getting on time here, and
no,
I feel
we're not. We just
are.
started.
I know. I'm telling you, it's crazy. I feel like we could go all day.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And talk about this, and maybe we'll have to do this again next time we're up in town.
That is a time warp.
I know.
Really was like, oh yeah, 10 minutes we've been talking.
No, we've been going for 34 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love that.
I know.
I'm like, I want to talk to you guys more.
I know. We absolutely will.
There's so much here. There's so much
Have
here.
you ever been down like to the Amazon and
I haven't
gone down
yet.
and do it?
I've been invited by my shaman. It just hasn't been the right time yet.
We lead groups down there too, and we work with like some amazing people.
Yeah, maybe I needed to meet you both.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
it's one of our, I mean, it's just a gift of service that we offer to people, because it changed our lives so much, you know, allowed us to continue walking this path together as a couple, and then strengthened us as a couple and individually. We're very different people, but not different in the sense of something that we weren't. We're now a more truer version of who we always
more authentic
were meant to be.
Yeah.
Than we ever were before. And to offer that experience to people is just such a gift. You know, we don't have the ability to do it through hypnotherapy or any other really modality. So we take people down to meet with the experts, like meet with the, you know, the people.
I would love to join.
So
we would love to have you.
And there's something magical. Like I don't know if you've done like more small ceremonies, bigger ceremonies, whatever,
I've done both.
When we first started doing ceremonies, you had this, you know, just amalgamation of people from around the world dealing with all sorts of traumas and issues and whatever. What we do is, because we're not facilitated, we kind of help, like we're there to hold space, but we go in.
Yeah, you join.
Deep.
We join.
We go in
you
deep.
Should.
Totally.
I think that's so magical.
We have our shamans that we work with down there.
Yes.
And so what we do is we cultivate the container, the group. And when you have a group of people that are operating at a different level, and they're all together, it is magical.
I've experienced that in my last ceremony. Yeah.
And
it's a very different experience.
Yeah, and so that's cool. So, but before we go, I wanna like, I can't believe we didn't get into all this, but like there's gonna be more to come.
Yes.
You do hypnotherapy.
I do.
And so, and like mindset coaching,
performance coaching, healing work.
And so, gosh, I got so many questions. I feel like we're running out of time on this, but like, what inspired you to go that route? Is it just because of your story and because of everything you went through and just wanting to guide people through and
yeah. Well, it's because I did everything. I did everything else, right? I was like, oh, I'm doing yoga. I'm doing mindfulness. I studied nutrition. I got into health and wellness and fitness and trained people. I've literally done anything and everything you can think of. Okay. But I just kept in these patterns and these programs of not leveling up my life. I just kept not making money, having to, you know, like just living in this poverty life that was just taught to me growing up. And I've always on a deep level wanted more.
Amazing.
Like that has never been since I was little. I've imagined myself having such a full life. And so I started working with a mentor who had a shaman in his container, and he reprogrammed me in his program. And I went from $1,500 a month to making multiple six figures in my business as a hypnotherapist. And it really is. Girl. Yeah. I'm like,
that's amazing.
And it really is because I've done the subconscious work. I truly believe that we will never have more than what our identity is.
Totally.
It's all identity work.
So would you be willing to come back on a next episode and go deeper into that framework?
Yes, I would love to, because I think it's life-changing for people to understand their identity.
I would love that.
Yeah. And it's my favorite work. Like it's
amazing.
I love anything magic of the mind. Like that is my shit.
I love it.
Anything in the mind. Because it's so infinite.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep. That's amazing. Do you have anything else? I know we gotta.
I'm actually relatively speechless. Like we could talk for hours as well.
I know. There was like a time warp.
It really was.
I love that Sean was like, you are going to love talking to these two. I mean, he literally knew. He knew.
He's got a sense. Do you know Adam Nugent?
Yep.
So he introduced me to Adam.
Oh, I love that.
He brought me
I
up
sat in ceremony with Adam.
Yeah. Yep. So it's it's crazy.
And Adam now comes and does ceremony with us.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's full circle.
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Welcome to the Hive.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he's like a brother. He's like a brother now.
Yeah,
like he's amazing.
He's amazing.
And Sean introduced us too.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and we did an interview with Adam on the podcast here too before. So yeah, it's awesome.
Good for you guys.
Next time we're here,
yes,
we definitely got to do this again. So if you haven't, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things, and then you'll see the next interview as well. But man, I feel like we could keep going, but we're out of time. So I'm going to put all of your information down below, all the socials, handles, any way people can get a hold of you, learn about your programs, coaching, all that stuff. It'll be down in the description below, so check it out. But till next time, keep healing, growing, and thriving. We'll see you.
Thank you, sister.
Oh, thank you both so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Mwah.